Hey viewers, welcome to it is another exciting episode of Open Studio. I'm your host for today's show. As always, my name is Kambwa, and yes, we've got an amazing and exciting show for you today because joining me in studio is an amazing man who goes by the name of Mark Shelton, who is a professional clown that goes by the name of Mungo.
That's right.
There we go. So for those of you that do not know, Mungo is here to grace us with his presence. For the next few minutes, we're going to be doing a couple of entertainment. And Mungo, just to speak, for those that do not know you, have never heard about you before, can you just tell us more about yourself?
Sure, Danny. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's
nice
wonderful
to have you
be
here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I've been a clown for the past 28 years professionally back in South Africa. I began my journey into clowning during my travels overseas in Europe. And I went traveling, I went backpacking Europe. And I wasn't planning, it was never my intention to become a clown. I never had a dream to become a clown. Actually, the first thing I wanted to be when I was a kid was an astronaut.
Oh, wow.
my first dream was to be an astronaut, but that never happened. But good news is the very first clown in space is Guy Laliberti from Canada. I think he's the owner of Circus Soleil, and he became the first clown in space. So he became an astronaut.
Wow. I see, speaking about us being an astronaut and clown, it's too different. It's very
quite
much
different.
Apart.
It was quite different.
Yeah, but you've made it. And just to speak about, clowns is very, very energetic people, very nice, happy people. Like,
thank you
speaking
very
to you, I can see that smile and that.
Thank you
What
so
was
much.
What was your background like growing up? Was it always a happy background?
No, it wasn't really. I wasn't raised by my mother. I was raised by my grandparents, and they'd already raised all of their children, so it wasn't like they had too much time for extra kids running around the house. And I was quite an introverted child, and I didn't play much with other kids or socialize much with other kids. And I did a lot of reading and, living in my imagination. I sort of lived in a fun world of my own imagination, reading a lot of books.
Wow.
As I grew up, I wanted to follow my mother's footsteps into theatre. I did some theatre training with Philip and Rita Mars, and I did a lot of shows with her. And then my other passion was poetry. So I spent my whole life writing poetry. And when I got into clowning, basically, you have an intention and a goal, and something else happens along the way, and everything turns out different. So back in the days, in the mid-'80s, I was studying at UCT. I was majoring in philosophy and psychology and all that.
Wow.
So I was going to complete my BA, was the plan. And then I fell in love, and it sort of broke my heart, and I wanted to take a gap year so I could heal myself and find some therapy. In the meantime, I got an army call-up. This is in the mid-'80s, about 86, 87. So I wasn't army material. So my mother said, listen, you've got the money to do it. Go overseas and travel. So I went off traveling with my backpack.
Wow.
I ended up visiting about 23 countries in total. And on that journey, first of all, I became a juggler with this juggling toy called a Diabolo, or Chinese yo-yo. And I started making my money as I went with that.
Yeah.
And I needed to be more funny and more entertaining. When I was in Israel, I met a clown from Austria, and I was fascinated with him. So I approached him and asked him if he could teach me to become a clown. And he said, no, I can't teach you to become a clown, but I can teach you a number of steps that you can teach yourself to become a clown.
Okay.
So I never actually had a teacher. So I took his advice, and I took those few steps and did it to a T, and it worked for me.
So you're self-taught?
So I'm completely self-taught.
Wow.
I've evolved it all myself.
Wow. So,
yes.
You've been in all these 28 countries in total.
23, actually.
23.
23 in my first travels, and now to date, after my second travels, 44.
Wow. 44
Yes,
countries.
44.
You've been all over the world.
I've been all over, not all over the world, Europe, North Africa, Middle East, and Asia.
Wow.
Yes.
If I was in Europe, I would say I've been all over the world.
Yeah.
But now, being in these different countries, these different spaces, what
Yes.
was the challenges for you? What was experiences like?
Well, often sort of cultural challenges,
Yeah.
but I think my clowning is now evolved to something that works for all cultures and languages.
Yeah.
You know, I think if Eskimo kids were in front of me, they'd also relate. You know, I think clowning is like a language that breaks through cultural and
Yeah.
language gaps. But for example, in Middle Eastern cultures, it's sometimes quite strange.
Yeah.
In an exotic country, when you get into clown costume,
Yeah.
it's, you know, my dream is actually one day I actually want to go and do a clown show for Bushman children.
Wow.
I'd be interested to see how they respond to
You're
that.
not afraid they might keep you there. But no, why did you come back to South Africa? Why did you decide to come back?
I traveled for 4 years in Europe during my first travels, and then my mom got cancer.
Oh, okay.
And she was missing me, and she said, please come back home.
Wow.
So I came back in 91. I had left I began my travels in about 87.
Wow.
So I came back in 1991. The country had completely changed. Nelson Mandela was free. Apartheid was
Finished.
So it was a real culture shock coming back. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I came back to a completely different South Africa.
Yeah, and I must say that you felt a better time for you to come back.
Yeah, well, it felt right. It was almost a sense of like we were all rooting for change.
Yes.
And it was kind of like being in exile in a way. Not that I was really in exile, but it was a sort of like, okay,
Yeah.
now the country is completely changed, and it was refreshing.
Yeah, and you
A bit of an adaptation at first to get
Yeah.
used to that. You know.
Yeah. So for the viewers that's watching at home, we've spoken about your background. Now when we come back, we're going to focus more on clown, on
Yes.
clowns and the people's perspectives on clowns. So do not go anywhere, guys. Please remain in your seats, because when we come back, we continue our conversation with Mark. So don't go anywhere.
Okay.
All right, guys, welcome to it. If you just tuned in, you're not too late. You're watching Open Studio on Cape Town TV, channel 263. I'm your host for today's show. My name is Kambwa. And yes, as I said, we've got an amazing show for you today, because joining me in studio is a guy that goes by the name of Mark Shelton, who is a professional clown. Yes, a professional clown who goes by the name of Mungo. Before the break, we spoke about your personal career, your background, where you are right now, where all the places you've been. So now we just want to focus on the misconception that the people have towards clowns. You know, people say that children are scared of clowns, and that clowns are harmful towards kids and adults. But just before we go onto that, what was your experience like working with kids?
It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
It's very challenging. You know, kids are very hyperactive. They're
Yeah.
very demanding, and they want everything right now at once. So it keeps you busy. It keeps
Yeah.
you on your toes. I haven't encountered many children that are afraid of me. Makeup is not all that important to me. I do paint my face, but I don't need to paint my face. And it's not a focus on looking like a clown. My emphasis is on being entertaining and being silly, and the art of being silly. And I'm just wearing a bright costume. I might paint my nose. And I do sometimes find children that are scared of me. That is usually the very small ones. And I think, you know, anything that is brightly colored in nature is scary. Babies have got, if you leave a baby in the jungle and it sees like bright colored animals coming to it, it's going to cry, because often
afraid,
something that's brightly colored is poisonous.
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason. The other reason is the fear of the unknown, what's behind the mask.
Yes.
But then why aren't kids scared of Spider-Man? You know, why? What is it about a mask? You know?
And just I think because like you mentioned now, what's behind the mask, and it's basically it's also what the media makes it to be. You know, like
Yes.
Spider-Man is seen as this hero and Superman and so on. But then in some movies we've got clowns in horror movies and things like
Yes.
that. What do you have to say on that?
Well, some years ago, an author called Stephen King came along and he wrote this horror book called It. It apparently isn't actually a clown. It's this dark entity which is a shapeshifter, which becomes anything that people are scared of.
Yeah.
So Pennywise the clown was this character that he created that lived down in the sewers and
Yeah,
the gutters. Of course, it's a complete fantasy and it's a horror story. And it's designed to scare people as much as possible because that's how he makes his money. So Stephen King has made a lot of money with his horror story, and this has affected the image of clowns.
Yes.
If you research, you will find that there are not any real cases of evil clowns. There was one guy who was a serial killer who used to dress up as a clown.
Yeah.
There are thousands of evil doctors. If you want to Google evil doctors, there are plenty of evil doctors, but no one believes that doctors are evil.
Yeah.
So it's a case of people's imaginations getting a little bit carried away and projecting their fears onto people.
Yeah. And,
The clowns that I know are just ordinary people. We're doing our job, and our job is to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And if we're going to scare people, we're not going to get hired.
Yeah.
So just like anyone else, we do what we do, and we want to pay our rent and earn a
definitely.
living.
Yeah. And in the back, before the show, we spoke about something very interesting. Now that you brought it up as well about being masked, and there are plenty of clowns out there. Or like you said, clown is more of a physical comedy rather than word of mouth.
Yes, that's quite that's quite right.
Yeah, you spoke about Mr. Bean.
Yes.
Can you just tell us
Yes.
about that? That was very interesting.
Oh, thank you. A clown is not someone with a red nose and funny shoes. A clown is a physical comedian and physical actor. The definition of clowning is a physical comedian using gesture, emotion, expression. Can be silent, and a clown can also talk. So Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, Mr. Bean, for example. More modern examples, Jim Carrey. He's a clown, absolutely. I find him scary. I think Jim Carrey is scary. Like, he's got some really freaky expressions. He gives me the creeps. But a clown is a physical comedian, essentially. And we're pretending to be stupid. We're not actually stupid.
Yeah.
And for example, some people might not know that Mr. Bean has got a very high IQ. He has his master's in engineering from Oxford. He has an IQ of 178.
Wow.
Which incidentally is 10 points higher than Albert Einstein, who had an IQ of 168.
Wow. So he's a smart guy.
So Charlie Chaplin, pretty smart guy.
Wow.
And of course, Mr. Bean, an incredibly successful clown.
Yes.
Those
Definitely.
guys are my role models
Yeah.
and heroes. Some people might not notice it, but in my opinion, Jackie Chan. An excellent clown. Jackie Chan,
yes.
is doing his karate, but he's actually being the essence of a clown.
Wow.
While he does it. So
Yeah.
people might not see it that way. Anyone can put on a clown suit, doesn't make them a clown. Anyone can put on a doctor's uniform or a policeman's uniform, it doesn't make them a policeman. So people, please don't confuse the image of a clown with what is a clown.
Yeah, so what are you doing as a person, as an individual, to change this misconception that people have towards clowns?
Well, I try to show that we are very friendly, to make myself very accessible and approachable.
Yeah.
And I go out into the public a lot. I like to entertain around Cape Town in the gardens, in Sea Point, and
Tell us about
so that people can meet me and see me as a person. And I try that when I'm performing, I'm not putting on a funny voice or something which is alien. I'm kind of being myself at the same time as being a clown. And to show that we are respectful people, we care about our customers, we care about children, and we're doing our best to bring smiles.
Yeah. Can you just briefly tell us, before we go into a short break, about the African Unite?
Africa Unite,
Yeah.
yes. So for the past year, I've had a contract for an organization called Africa Unite. It's a NGO, NPO, and that is for uplifting children in the townships. So I've been hired as a vocational teacher, teaching life skills. My program is called Skills for Self-Esteem. So I teach the children drama, singing, juggling, guitar, games, chess, and English comprehension, vocabulary, to help them with their English.
Okay, so we're just going to take another short break quickly. That's very interesting. For those that's watching at home, when we come back from the break, we've got more with Mungo. So do not go anywhere. We'll be back after this. Wow, Mungo, that was so entertaining. Wow, you just make me want to have kids, I'm telling you. To my future wife, if you are watching, take notes, huh? Take notes. So, wow, how was this for you? For people that do not know you, that's watching you for the first time, how can we get a hold of you? This is amazing.
Thank you very much. You can phone me, you can email me. My WhatsApp's not working at the moment, something funny there on the phone that I can't figure out yet. My cell phone number is 074 684 6023. That's 074 684 6023. And my email address is Mungo. That's not mango. I might be a fruit, but I'm not. I might be a fruit cake, but I'm not a fruit. So it's Mungo, MUNGO, the Smile Maker, 777 at gmail.com.
There we go. There you have it. All the hashtags, Smile Maker, 777. all that is Mungo, guys. So if you are looking at having a kids party or children's party, please do come out, message Mungo, get a hold of Mungo. I'm telling you, this is the best performance I've seen in a clown. I've been trying to do this thing since we started. This is how far I've come. I'm so embarrassed. But guys, that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for coming. See you till next time, Mungo. Some more entertainment for Mungo. But for now, I'm signing out, guys. Till next time, bye-bye.